Hi, and welcome back to another podcast with your host, Miriam Khan. This is Raise Your Vibes. Today's topic is quite an interesting one. I've been wanting to do this one for quite a while, actually. And here we are. It's about being the black sheep of the family, or so to say, or embracing the fact that you're the black sheep of the family. So let's look at this sort of analogy. Let's look at this particular quote that's been used quite frequently by quite a lot of people for a long time. In many cultures, in many traditions, and in many faiths and communities globally, it could be within your small circle, it can be within your wider circle. We always have this sort of, indoctrinated way of being, okay? And some of that means following society's rules, following your family's rules, your cultural aspects, traditional rules. And, quite a lot of us go quite a far way to do that, and we do it with peace, we do it with love, and we do it with prosperity. And then there are some of us that decide to do the complete opposite. Now, I definitely fall into that category, and I'm sure quite a lot of you also probably are in that same bracket as well. This is where the individual, almost like the film The Matrix, I guess, I'm sure some of you have seen that very, very famous trilogy. There are certain aspects to us where we're not necessarily following the crowd. We go against society, we go against the norms, we go against the hierarchy, we go against the bourgeoisie, and we go against all the dictatorship and the rules, and decide to do complete opposite. Now, when I say that, I don't mean you put anyone at harm, you don't hurt anybody, you don't put people's lives at risk, because I don't mean it in that respect. I mean, if, for example, your whole family heritage has always been, for example, you are a butcher, or you've been a steel worker, or whatever it is, you decide to do the complete opposite. You decide to change that lineage. You decide to change the hereditary within your family roots. You try to do the absolute opposite instead, And when we do these things, we meet quite a lot of opposition. We meet quite a lot of people telling us, you shouldn't do that, you can't do that. And a lot of this is oppression, a lot of this is fear, a lot of it is they don't want us to step out of the box, and this is where you become sort of like the black sheep, so to speak, Sometimes families have this uncanny way of, perhaps keeping you within your mould, keeping you within your restraints, and keeping you almost in a metaphorical aspect of a prison, and we do our utmost, those of us that are entitled as the black sheep, we do our utmost to step out of that box, to step out of that prison, and to sort of seek guidance and to go forward and do things we should be doing. As I said, I'm very much like this, and I've done this my entire life after the age of probably 18 or so, probably younger actually, if I was to really reflect and look back. And I'm in my 40s right now. So, I've become quite adapt to being this intrepid character that's quite fearless and that goes forward and is making some bold moves. But some people will really struggle with that. Some people will want to keep you within that particular domain. It could be something simple like you want to go on holiday to a place where maybe your family or friends think that you shouldn't be going to. It could be that you are having children with someone that is not part of your culture, part of your race, You made that relationship, you made that bond. Perhaps you're not choosing an abusive partner, Perhaps you're choosing divorce over staying in that abusive marriage and staying in it for many, many, many years, It could be that you decide to go travelling by yourself. Done that, got the t-shirt. I've had various friends personally telling me, I'm stupid for going travelling across the world. I have been to some amazing places. There are still loads of places left, for me to go and seek and to do. But the thing is that people will have this opposition against you, and sometimes we are scared. Sometimes we have this fear and we have this doubt, because there's all this negativity coming from all these individuals, left, right, centre, whether it's our parents, our friends, our community. And these are people that are supposed to love us and care for us. But there's this massive negativity. And they don't get at the fact that you're there as the black sheep of the family to change that lineage. For example, one of the things I've personally done in my own family timeline is that I've, as a female, have travelled the world. Now, that might seem like something that seems okay in 2021, but I'm Muslim, I'm female, I'm also someone that had a disability, which is now okay, but also I was someone that was very headstrong. And there's particular roles and particular, things that people expect you to do. Telling you that you're going to be, used or seen as a second-class citizen, and that men should be travelling, not females, just taking things and moving to another whole country is quite fearless in itself. It's quite intrepid by itself, and people in my family wouldn't dare do that unless, for example, they were getting married to someone and had to move abroad. Yeah. In my particular case, that wasn't the case. I was off travelling and I was off wanting to explore. So I wasn't doing what the traditional lineage expected me to do. Other things people do, they break their trauma patterns as well. So, as being the black sheep of the family, you might not necessarily choose the same partner. Maybe you don't want a particular marriage with a certain individual that resonates clearly with your family history and your family timeline. Maybe you step out of your family lineage and you marry someone else from a different culture. It doesn't matter, like in my case, I divorced that person. It doesn't matter if that marriage lasted or not. The fact is, I did it. I married someone of my own choice rather than having it dictated to me that this is the person that you should consider marrying or you should marry. Okay? So there are situations like that can occur. There are other aspects too, there are times when we do things that are so bold and so intrepid that other family members or culturally people think that you are absolutely nuts and absolutely crazy. And sometimes I look at that individual and think, well, actually, you're the crazy one because you've missed out on an opportunity. You've sat back on your backside, so to speak, and missed things, missed opportunity, and missed adventure, and missed fun, and missed living, and instead you're existing. I can think back to a time when I started travelling for the first time, and I started travelling and going to parts of Europe, and I started off travelling solo in Greece. That's where I first started to travel on my own. And I remember asking my friends, like, hey, let's go on holiday, let's go on the summer holidays, because I was teaching then, so we'd have 6-week holidays. And, the amount of people that would be busy or didn't have the timeline or just didn't have the space or the funds or whatever it was, there was various excuses. And I got to the point where I just thought, you know what, I can't be doing this. I'm just going to book it by myself. Now, for those of you that are understanding of this, if you're booking a holiday from England, the costs are double, okay? So it's almost like you are with another person anyway, because it's more funds, okay, to book an accommodation. It's not like nowadays where you've got booking.com and you've got options and you've got things like that. I'm talking way back where things were expensive. Flight tickets were expensive. Accommodation itself was expensive. And I can remember, getting to a stage where I just booked the holiday, booked the tickets, and off I went. And friends prior to going and family were like, well, you're crazy, you're nuts, what if something happens to you? What if? And my response was, and why not? What if I have the best adventure of my life? What if I see the world through my eyes and you don't get to see it? You don't get to explore. One occasion, whilst I was out travelling on my own for that first time, is, you have people coming up to you, especially like I can remember sitting by this marina dock in Greece, the beautiful view of the sea. And in this particular place, I think it was Lindos, there was a family that was going past me and I was ordering food from the menu. So clearly they heard my British accent and said, oh, you on your own? I said, yeah, come and join us. We feel really sorry for you. I was like, no, I'm actually really enjoying the fact that I'm by myself. It was almost like a little Shirley Valentine sort of moment where you sat having a meal by yourself and enjoying the view and being in your own company. Some people just don't get that. They think that you have to be with someone else, in order to enjoy that time. That particular trip gave me strength to go and do something even bolder, right? So I can recall getting a suitcase packed, not having anything booked. And back then, you could just go to the airport and you could go up to the cancellation desk and say, what holidays or what flights or whatever have you got cancelled? Because there'd be a seat available. So this was back in the day. I'd heard about this. I thought maybe it's just a myth, but actually I did do this. Turned up, got my passport, I had some holiday money in my pocket, and I was like, right, let's see what cancellations there are. And I kid you not, I managed to go to another part of Greece, actually, which was Rhodes, for a return ticket, my accommodation, and various other things for £12. I'll let you think that in a minute. Okay? For £12. That event doesn't happen anymore, but back then it did. And I must admit, on that particular trip when I was going, when I was doing the check-in desk and everything, I was just like bowled over that there must be some sort of close, there must be some sort of catch, but there wasn't. When I'd gone to check in, the stewardess or the check-in person at the desk was saying to me, are you travelling on your own or is there someone else with you? And I said, no, I'm on my own. And she said, well, you're lucky. Would you like some extra leg room? And I'm 5'10", so I'm not going to say no. So yes, I said yes, please, because I get really cramped on airplanes sometimes. So it was amazing because I got upgraded to first class for free. So when you do these types of things, when you are going against the norm, you are going against society pressures, you're going against what's expected of you, you are the black sheep of the family, but you're also living and you are seeking adventure. You're seeking amazing destinies and amazing journeys that other people would only just dream of, and the more you do these types of things, the more you do these types of intrepidness, going across globally, living your life, basically, the more you're seen as the mad person, the Looney Tunes. It's almost like you're the character from Jane Eyre, that's been locked up in the attic, although you're not actually mad, you're just living. Some things we do as black sheep as well is, like I said, in our ancestral line, in our family roots, in our traditions, there are events, there are things, there are types of behaviour, patterns of behaviour that we just personally won't tolerate. We either nip it in the bud, or we're somebody who tolerates it for a certain while and then realises and grows and understands this concept of, no, this is not for me. I will not have someone talk to me like that. I will not have someone treat me like that. I will not have a relationship that has these types of boundaries where I'm abused, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally, for example, So those types of boundaries are also very, very, very difficult to leave. And a lot of the time, you might find that in families where you're labelled as the black sheep, the dark sheep, whatever you want to call it, you'll find that actually you're surrounded by narcissistic people. You're surrounded by very, very toxic people. You just don't realise it. The more that you step away, the more that you are empowering yourself, because it's empowerment. The more you're doing that, the more you're allowing yourself to build up higher boundaries, and the more that you're raising your own vibrations within your element and your soul and your being. You're raising your vibrational ascension in a sense, okay, by saying that my chakras are aligned, my whole sense of being is aligned. I'm not allowing myself to feed off your negativity. I'm not allowing myself to allow your negative rays to come into my life. I stand by me. I stand by my decision. I respect myself. I love myself enough to not follow the traditional routes that a family member or someone else has outlined for me. And that is the hardest journey, if I'm being honest. You will find that when you're the black sheep of the family, there are people that will cut you out of your life, or you cut them out of your life. Most of the time it takes some doing. Trust me, it takes some doing. And there's certain events, there's certain things that are boundary-wise, that where someone just crosses that line, okay? And you can't help but step away or speak your truth. And some of the time, when you speak your truth, obviously it might end up being an argumentative sort of like state. The other person really cannot handle it. They really cannot handle having the truth thrown back in their face. And having certain stipulations, certain things that resonate with you, that where you're outlining to them, this is not what I like, this is not what I approve, These are my boundaries. Either respect them or there's the door. Now, I've had to do this several times with family members, and it's not an easy chapter. It's not. I've also had to do it with friends as well, where they've stepped out of line. Because, as you're growing older, or, even if you're young stage, your friend circle will constantly keep changing. The more that you raise your vibration, the more that you work on yourself and you improve and respect your own boundaries. And it's self-love, it's self-preservation as well. So there's a mixture of things that we do. When we are the black sheep of the family, one of the hard things, if I'm honest, and one of the most traumatic, emotionally hurtful, and it's very negative, is you will have people in that community, in that particular circle, labeling you and saying negative, disgusting things at times. I've had this happen to me where certain labels have been placed on me, certain narratives have been placed on me that are not even true. And the sad thing is, the hard thing is, the difficult thing is to accept is that those narratives will not change no matter how evident it is that it is false. Okay, so let that sink in. Sometimes people like to tar you with a thick coat brush, with a thick tar, and it sticks. And it's very hard going back into that community, that place where you're meant to be loved unconditionally, and people are casting stones or judgment. And this is people that are blood, they're blood relatives. And despite the fact that they're the ones that have caused that emotional trauma and abuse for you, they're the ones that could easily clear your name, for example. They choose not to. And for us as the black sheep of the family, it's very hard to go back into that context and hold your head high and be proud of the fact that you are none of the things that you've been labelled as. It's very hard because the amount of toxicity and the amount of negativity and the amount of judgment from those people is a very, very, very difficult thing to stand up against, hold your head high against, and be proud of yourself that none of the things that they've said is actually true. There's that childhood phrase, isn't there? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words will never hurt me. Actually, the words do hurt us. They do. There are some nasty, nasty people out there. When they're labeling us as the black sheep of the family, they will do everything they can to knock you down. And a lot of the time that they attack you like that, verbally or physically or mentally, emotionally or spiritually, is because they can't attack you in any other way. So that's to them your aspect of weakness. And in fact, to you, it's your biggest strength. There gets a point as well, you have to shield yourself almost. You have to have this suit of armor to protect yourself from this negativity. For years and years, it used to pain me. It used to really taunt me. And it used to really deeply, deeply wound me. Some of the things that people have said from close loved ones. And I got to the stage where I had to work on myself and realize, that's a reflection on them. It's not a reflection of me, because I know all truths are self-evident, to quote, a very famous person. Okay? And at the end, you have the truth, you have lies, and you have this concept of truth that this person's fabricated. Okay? But the main important thing as the black sheep of the family is remembering your truth. You know your story. You know the path you've walked. You know the judgment that's been cast on you, and you know how hard it's been to walk away from those types of people, especially the negative ones, especially the narcissistic ones, especially the ones that will do anything to get you back within their control. And the more you've stepped away, the more you're a black sheep of the family, the more rubbish they'll throw at you. And like I said, that's the hardest thing, the hardest thing. Let's look at some positive aspects of being the black sheep, in context. So, one, you've got your independence. Now, trust me when I say that comes at a big cost. Okay? So, cutting off your family, cutting off friends, you're left by yourself in most situations. You're going to struggle. You're going to really struggle with that independence at first, because there's going to be parts of you that exceptionally needy, that you need people around you. You need that support. It might be financial support that you need. It might be that you need people to lean on for like a comfort, because this is damn hard stuff we're talking about. But the end result when you come out that independence is you are strong. You can do things yourself. You're resilient. You learn. I can remember a friend of mine living on her own, for a while, and going up to her house, and she wasn't home at the time. I'd gone into a different city. And I remember her having a male friend come over to help her out. And it was because in her house at the time, the electric had gone. And back in those days, the fuse boxes was fuse wire. So all you needed to simply do was open up I say simply because I'm trained like this. All you needed to simply do was to open up the electric main line, obviously cut the circuit of that particular area if you knew which one it was. And then once you'd sorted that out, if you had some fuse wire of that particular area, it depended on the ampage, obviously, you just rewired it and put it back into the slot, and there you go, you'd have your fuse wire. It just meant maybe going to a DIY store. I was the type of person that always had those things in my house. I was known for having several toolboxes and a DeWalt drill. I digress. But the point was, I taught myself to be independent enough to be able to do those things. And I'm grateful for my dad for showing me those things, as I was growing up. But some people will rely on others, and then there's that dependency, there's that codependency, and there's that other person using that against you. So when you're in an independent state, you have to teach yourself. That's another step, You have to teach yourself the lessons. You have to teach yourself the step. You have to teach yourself how to cope. For example, it might be not knowing how to switch a washing machine on, how to load it, how to, like I said, how to paint something in your apartment, maybe not knowing how to register for a bill, how to pay for council tax. But eventually, when you learn these things, and maintenance of your house, you become more independent. You're not reliant on these other people that you've been using as a cushion. And the more you become resilient, the more you become independent, the stronger you are. You get to a point, you get to a dangerous point where I am, where you don't need anyone. You physically don't. You mentally don't. You spiritually don't. You just need yourself. Financially, you might be better off when you put yourself away from these people that are toxic, because it could be that you are now financially reliant on yourself. Again, for some people, this is a struggle. Some people it's not. It will vary. But once we are in our own position, away from the black sheep, away from these people that have cast you as the black sheep of the family, you are able to purchase things yourself, within reason, sensible things. Again, someone's not dictating to you or controlling to you about how you should spend your particular money. For example, they might not agree with the soft furnishings in your house. They expect you to have the same furnishings as part of your family. This is the way we've always done it. We bought it from this shop and blah, 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 blah. You have to be standing on your own two shoes, in your own two shoes and your own 2 feet, so that you're independent. And again, some of us struggle to do that. Okay? One of the great advantages is peace of mind. Once you've worked through all the negativity that I've talked about, and once you've gone through that cycle, and it takes time, you might end up cutting these people out. Nowadays, it's easier to do in some respects, okay? Back in the day, before technology sort of took over, it would be personally, maybe someone turning up on your doorstep, or a call on a landline, or whatever it was, where you would try to cut the other person out. Now there's so many aspects of social media, it's really easy to hunt someone down. And I say hunt because it is like that. It's tracking someone down. Yeah? Because, we've got our best friend Google, and all you need to do is put someone's name in, and boom, they appear on all these different platforms. So sometimes there's that aspect as well. But the good thing is that you can block people, you can avoid these people, you can go into different circles, or friendships or family to move away from these people, okay? And one of the things when you do that, which is another positivity, is that you begin building your own soul tribe. You start building your own family. You start building your own group of people, actually. And again, you'll work on this. You'll keep dwindling it. You'll keep changing it. It'll keep altering depending on you and your personality and what you deem to want in a friendship or a love relationship, Over the years, for example, I have got so many adopted mamas and papa bears, Some I've lost contact with because that time has ended and we've moved on. And the longest one I've had was since I was 16. Like I said, I'm in my 40s now, And good people will stick with good people, So sometimes you'll have certain individuals like that become part of your tribe. And they understand your mission better than anyone. Better than anyone. They won't have that negativity. They won't have that judgmentality. They will be on your side. They'll be your tribe. They'll support you, love you, nurture you, help you to grow. And like I said, it could be short partnership. It could be a long one. It all depends on your particular journey with those particular individuals and the time that's allocated. Yeah. So that varies as well. When you are the black sheep of the family, you also get to see this side of love. Now, that can be a big concept, can't it? Love is such a massive, massive, massive concept. But I'm talking self-love. I'm talking love of self. If you heard my other podcast, you'll have heard that that's number one. That's the important rule in life. You love you first. And when you've come away from negativity and people that just don't understand with the way you live your life or the concept or anything around that, it's very, very difficult to break those norms and sort of live in your own little bubble or babble, as we say, down south, And we have to sort of move forward and accept who we are and embrace who we are, And the more you love yourself, the more you work on yourself and you say to yourself, I don't really agree with what so-and-so said about me, but this is who I am. This is me. And they don't like me. They don't want me because for obvious reasons, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I'm going to be myself. I'm going to stand in my own light, in my own shadow. I'm happy with my choices that I've made. Some maybe didn't go to plan, but some of them will. And I'm in a much better state of mind. Which leaves me to the last one, peace. You start living your life in peace. The more you step away from these people that have labelled you as the black sheep of the family, the more you are at peace. Peace within your life, peace within yourself, peace away from toxic drama and toxic people. You're not part of the rat race. You're not being a yes man or a yes woman. You are living your life the way you want it. Okay? It might be that you had all these expectations thrown on you that you must have this type of career, you must do this and you must do this, and you don't want to follow it. You then are living your life the way you want it, and you are at peace. You're at peace within yourself because all these different dynamics and different aspects I've talked about all come together. They're part of a strong glue, like a jigsaw piece that molds you together, makes you who you are. You can't change that, There is nothing wrong with being the black sheep of the family. Just to finish off, one of the things that we do, and we don't realise it, we change that lineage from our family forever. And I mean forever. And from a spiritual point of view, for those of you that are into that, I am, definitely, you can see the massive ramifications and implications for the future generations. You've gone against the tide. You've gone against what somebody expects of you. You've done something so bold and so humane and intrepid that other people daren't do it. I've mentioned it before on travelling. One of the things I did one time was go off travelling to Iceland with someone that was a friend of mine. I hadn't known the friend for a long time, and my close friends were like, you're crazy. What if you this and what if that? And you know what? The person didn't end up being a friend for very long. But the place I went to, as in Iceland, will forever, ever be in my memory. And it will live with me for as long as I live, because it was the most stunning and most beautiful place I've ever visited so far. So these things can happen, can't they? But by doing those bold things, by doing those intrepid things, we're changing our lineage. We're changing our whole aspect. We should be going out, traveling, seeking, doing things that people wouldn't necessarily expect us to do. Recently, if you've been listening to my podcast, I learned how to sail. I was doing my sailing qualification, something that nobody in my family would ever dream of doing, let alone swimming, let alone a female, let alone someone who's got, physical disabilities to some respect, or limitations, should I say, to some respect, right? And also my religion comes into that as well. Like, what are you doing? So there are those aspects. And when we look back, I think just to finish off, we need to look at the positivity, the positive aspects. Don't just be sat there. If you're relating to this, yes, you're going to go through some tough times. Tough times when you're the black sheep of the family. You'll never change. You'll always be labelled as that. And there are some relationships within your family members that you'll never ever bond again. You'll never mend again. But you know what? As long as you are at peace with that, and as long as you know your truth with that, that's okay. The main thing is that you live your life the way you feel happy to do it. You change that ancestral line, you change that lineage, you boldly go to go where no one's gone before, to quote Star Trek, But these are situations and scenarios that will make us. So don't think of being the black sheep as the family as a negative thing. Nah, it's a positive thing. But like I said, you have to go through some dark clouds and come out the other side, shining, come out the rainbow. You might find your little leprechaun at the other side. And you know what? You've made it. And that also means that you're the black sheep of the family, because you've done, again, something that they haven't done. I personally keep ticking all those boxes. I'm a published author now. I'm a podcaster. I'm someone who's sharing all my ideas. I've gone traveling. These are things my family probably detest. I know some members do. They disagree with it. They think I'm bonkers and I'm the black sheep. I know. And I'm all right with that. I'm cool with that. Because if anything, I'm empowering me, and I'm empowering the people around me, and I'm empowering the younger generations that are looking up to me. That's what you got to remember. That's what you got to remember. You got to think of the implications for the future generations. It might not have an impact now, but it will do down the line. Now, if you're someone who can relate to this, send me a message, comment, tell me what's happening with you, because all of us have different scenarios, different ways of dealing with being the black sheep of the family. But just remember, you are awesome, you are great, you are intrepid, you are fearless, and you are very much loved. By yourself first, by the people around you. Keep being who you are, keep being a badass, as I say, and keep soldiering on, because obviously you're doing something right. God bless, take care, peace out.